What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon. I'm back at you, another one, and this one is from Season 2, Episode 5, recap, review, and all of my theories. I'll give them to you as soon as I'm done with the video in the last half. And if that's something you're into, then make sure you subscribe and click that bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new video. This Sunday, we have Kenny's mom, that's what you know as Tay-Pan, will be joining us on the live stream. So make sure you're there so you can call in and ask her your questions. Let's get this started. So the show starts off with Randall on the bus, and I'm sure people were interested how he was going to be able to deal with all the things that go on outside. And he almost slips up and opens the door. He thinks about it because he's a hothead, and it almost got the better of him. But he rethought the situation, and he just looked at him, and it seems like these creatures were messing with him all night. But it's funny that they did stop messing with him as soon as he said he wasn't scared of them anymore. When he wasn't afraid and he wasn't going to play their game, they turned right away and walked away. And I think that that is very significant. And I think that they tried to tell you something about this whole situation. We're going to talk more about that in the theories part of this video when I'm done doing the recap. But as soon as he said, I'm not afraid of you guys, that's when they started doing it. We then skip to Jade. Jade having some alcohol, probably the last alcohol in that bar. And then he gets the flashback of the guy that we seen in the Polaroid, but now we see him in color. He comes out there, another vision of Jade that pops up with this symbol, and it's just all eating away at Jade right now. His mind is not exactly where it needs to be. We then switch to Boyd, and Boyd had a whole episode basically of dealing with the aftermath of Sarah returning to town. First, he see the Matthews come out there and they confront him and wish to confront Sarah. And we see Tabitha go in on Sarah, telling her straight up, listen, if you come by my children or my family, I will kill you. And not only am I going to kill you, I want you to say it back to me so you understand everything that I'm saying, so that when I do kill you, there ain't no excuse for you to try to say that you didn't understand what I was saying. Again, I think that this place is getting to everyone. I don't think Tabitha would ever say anything like that in real life, and I think that that could be the factor of what's exactly going on in this place. We then do see Sarah go back to her place, and a lot of people wondered what was going on with Sarah's place. Well, some new people from the bus, they moved in, and when they did move in, it seemed like, you know, they knew everything about her. Like, oh, it's the girl who killed her brother. Like, everyone just spread these rumors about it, just dropping dime on her about everything. She just wants an item, and she wants some clothes from her brother, and the dude's like, no, that's my flannel. I'm keeping this flannel. And he's trying to be nice about it, but his shorty's mad gangster. His girl is just like, yo, I'm going to handle this. She should have just told him go away and just let me handle this. That's the way it seemed like everything else. We then go back to the Matthews house. When we're at the Matthews house, Ethan knows about Sarah being back. And he knew about it from the nighttime and everything else, right? Which we had the actress who plays Julian said that they'd be having conversations off camera. This was one of those times that they had a conversation off camera and that he was ready to confront Sarah about everything that went down with that. So then we move to Donna, and Donna back in Colony House, and she has it out with Boyd. Like, yo, you have rules, but all of a sudden, for your benefit, you want to change the rules. Now, nobody's seen exactly what Boyd went through with Sarah, so it's hard for them to understand. All they see is that she's back, and they're saying she murdered 5 people, and that's what it is. So Sarah goes over to the store to try to get her stuff back from the storage facility that it was put in. Then Ethan comes around with his father and says to her, oh, I seen you. I don't know how you survived the woods. Only the monsters live in the woods. That means you're a monster. and that means I'm not afraid of you anymore. You can see that it's eating Sarah up inside. When this is all said and done, it's going to turn around for Sarah, and they're all going to be happy that Sarah is alive when it's all said and done. Guarantee you that is where it's going with Sarah's character. I know some people may think that she will get off, or some people may think that something bad's going to happen, but when it's all said and done, I think Sarah will be the hero of this whole story. And all the people that treated her like garbage are all going to have Sarah to save their life. All the other people that actually do make it out of here. She may have to sacrifice herself at the end of this whole thing to get people out. That could be the play, but this is what's going on. All right, Jade and Victor. Victor tells Jade, I want you to go play this violin for me. He brings him over to this place where there's a bunch of cars. And the interesting thing that Victor says here is that he brought all these cars here, but there were a bunch of cars that were in front of him that were brought there before, right? So in order for Jade to get the information from Victor, he wants him to play the certain song while Victor sits on top of this car. This is the car that Victor's family came up here in. Him and his mother came up in here, and she used to play the violin for him. So we do get after this the whole backstory of Victor as a child, why all of this is so traumatic for him, and while he had everything going on. After this, we see the new character Elgin, and he winds up inside of the church. And while he is inside of that church, who does he run into inside of that church? Well, he runs into Sarah, and it seems like he is the only one that is willing to take pity on Sarah and seems to be digging Sarah, and Sarah seems to be digging him. Listen, she's a hot girl, boy. You know what I mean? Listen, I would have been trying to save it too. I would have been like, listen, y'all ain't touching my girl. You ain't doing that. Right? That's just not the way it's going to happen. And that's the way it seems like homie is playing it. So I know a lot of people were trying to push him and Julie, the actress who played Julie Hannah, when she came on the show last week, she did say that when she played that scene with him and Elgin, she played it as if there was some flirting going on there. So listen, could we have a little love triangle? I always thought she was a little bit too young for his character. She said that she thinks he's playing 18, maybe 19, but her character is playing 16. So I don't know if they would do that with a 16-year-old, but Sarah is right for the taking. When dealing with the Matthews family, it was more about Tabitha this episode. It seems like she was the one still experiencing all of these visions of these children, but these children are affecting her in the physical realm. Then we go back to the diner, and we see Taipan, and she's in there. Sarah goes in there to get her things that she wants. It's a porcelain statue, and I really thought that she was going to be a little bit more forgiving to her. I did. I really thought that she would forgive her, but it seems like she just can't forgive her for what she did, and it seems like nobody is going to be able to forgive her. If she can't forgive her, no one is. And then we see Kenny, Breaking Bad Kenny, we talk about this, smash Sarah's little porcelain statue on the floor. Kenny is losing his mind. I don't understand why Kenny is allowed to carry a gun. And this is what they're saying about two sets of rules for different people, because if you're going to go and say, Kenny, you can't carry a gun, everyone else is not allowed to, then you can't either. We see then the new hairstyle for our resident doctor in here with her girlfriend. And again, once again, this Tilly pops up. There's something going on with Tilly. Something is going on with Tilly 100%, but she gets the word and she runs outside. Remember that they seen somebody hurt themselves before. They seen somebody lose their mind before, right? So now we're setting up the love triangle with Kenny and the two nurses. Listen, maybe Kenny is able to pull them both off. Who knows if he's able to pull this off? But it seems like they're setting up this love triangle that they have a connection. She still has a connection with him. After this, we go back to Jade, and Jade gets some of the backstory for this character that he has kept seeing in these visions. And it seems that this guy was a nice person, but something made him lose his mind. Something made him go off the wall. And I've talked about this in a video. I have a video saying, will Jade go crazy? I talked about this being the case, that something like that could happen due to the fact that he's doing all these things. You see him making models with the bottle and everything else and obsessing over this sign. And I break it down, so go please check out the video. I gave you all the talking points for that. After that, we see Tabitha and all the children. She's outside. There again is that statue that is out inside of the cave that she's seeing get knocked over with the ball. While she's looking out into the forest, we see the children come out there and they start saying Hakui, or something like that, some type of word to her. And then when they get close to her, they all start to touch her. And then she sits up and she's like, oh my God, get away from me, get away from me. And then Jade sees the whole shit go down, that she was just doing that to herself and just putting that all on herself. We then see Jim talking to Boyd, and he comes up with his theory and tells her that maybe that this is just an experiment, that this is just a test, and the point of this test is to see if people can deal with everything that is thrown at them. If that is the case, I think it's a little bit more sinister than that, but I do think he's on to something 100%, but it's got something else to do with it, and I will talk about that in 1 minute because we're about to get to all of my theories, and I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen after this episode ends. Boyd goes to Taipan to try to tell her exactly how he feels and why he's resulted into everything that he's done, and she looks like she ain't having it, and that's how the episode ends. So right off the bat, when we're dealing with the theories here, we have 100% proof that all of this is happening in Tabitha's head. Every time she sees these children, no one else can see these children, but it's affecting her physically. Her nose starts to bleed. So somehow these things are able to affect her physically. We've seen the same thing happen with Sarah, and it may transfer over to Jade. Now, we haven't seen Jade actually physically go and get bleeding in his nose or anything from these things, but that could be the second stage of this whole situation. Maybe you start to see the things and then it starts to affect you physically. For some reason, it's affecting her physically. When I seen that the little kids touching her and saying this word Akui, it made me think of Daenerys in the Game of Thrones when they were calling her Mother of Dragon, and they kept calling her Misa, right? That's what it reminded me of, that scene. It seems like these children have been experimented on, and that's what the main experiment was on these children. Next important thing that I picked up on was when Victor said to him, these cars were already put here before I got here. The ones in the front were already there. That makes me believe that, as I've told you in other videos, all these people have already been here before. They've all been here. And I think they keep pulling them from alternate dimensions, and that's why they're here. The other Victor who was here before this Victor, he's the one who put the first set of cars there, and now he's put the second set of cars there. I think that every one of them, Tabitha, Jim, anyone you name, has all been in this spot before. 100%. That, and when they kill them or when it doesn't work out, this experiment, they reboot it and bring them all in again and start the whole situation over. That's why Tabitha's bracelet is there. When dealing with Kenny and his love triangle, I can't see all three of them making it out of this show alive. One of them has got to die. Point blank. It's no way they make it out of here. Me and Phil talked about this could be the Breaking Bad moment of Kenny, that we weren't going to see the nice, likable Kenny, that was just going to go away, and it seems like that's exactly what's going on here. You see everything that he's done to Sarah and the way he's smashing stuff. You would have never seen Kenny act that way at all. Kenny is Breaking Bad again. He shouldn't be allowed to carry the gun per rules of the town, and that's what brings Boyd conflict when it's all said and done. Boyd has to have one set of rules that everyone can follow. When you start making rules for certain people, but not everybody, then there's going to become a problem. And I think Boyd's leadership could be challenged. Who can challenge it? I think it's Randall. You see Randall, he's starting to get really comfortable, sitting up on top of that bus, hanging out, you know what I mean? Not afraid of these creatures. There may be a certain faction of people who want to start to bring the fight to these creatures, and Randall may be the guy above in that factor. Jim could roll with him or something. Kenny could roll with him. And if you get all those people together, they may say, listen, we're the one who made you sheriff. Give us your badge. Randall's going to be the new sheriff in town. We're taking your spot over. I think that he's going to have a fight on his hands for everything that he has done so far by the way he's acting and trying to protect Sarah. And we have 100% concrete evidence from this that it's a great possibility that Jade is going to lose his mind. I told you that could have happened in my video, Will Jade Lose His Mind? Go take a look at that video and all the signs that pointed towards that. And again, I don't think that those creatures killed all those monsters. I think it's this dude who was seeing the symbols that killed all those people that Victor walks out and sees. I do not believe it was the monsters that killed him. I think this guy freaked out and killed everybody. And that's why it's traumatic to Victor when he's seen that puppet downstairs. It was because he liked this guy and that guy lost his mind. But you tell me in the comment section what you think. Make sure you join us tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll be joined by Taipan, the actress who plays her, and we'll be going through this whole episode in greater detail. So if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the road, and of course, subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.